right, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air fans, this is my third video talking about the reunion. I had the original reunion review, then I gave my thoughts on Will Smith's Red Table Talk, and now, I was actually having a great discussion. Let me get the channel name here. Burgundy Blue Commentary, that's the name of the YouTube channel. They started up about a week or so ago, and they put out a video. And the title was, Dear Will Smith, thanks for the apology, but where is Janet's coin? Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion. And I left a comment pretty much going into detail my thoughts on this. But before going further, number one, please take a moment to like the video, hit that subscribe button, click the bell icon, and select all. That way you keep informed whenever I post content to the channel. Also, go down to that description box because all my social media links are down there. Why would you want to miss out on the fun? And also check out Burgundy Blue Commentary on YouTube. I will leave a link to her channel in the top comment below. And if you are a fan of Kev on Stage, That Chick Angel, Kev on Stage Studios, Here's the Thing podcast, and everything else affiliated with Kev on Stage, this is a great channel because she does commentary pretty much, it started up about, the Righteous and Ratchet fallout, what happened between Kev and Doughboy. Pretty much she's a fan, like I know I am. I've been a member of the Right Pack, which is now the Stage Crew since it began, and her channel is great, so definitely check her out. So I left a comment on there, and I even left a poll in the community tab not too long ago, actually. Let me go check the results real quick. And I put the poll up, and I asked the question, do you think Will Smith owes Janet Hubert financial compensation for, in parentheses, or excuse me, in quotation marks, ruining her career? 76 votes, 70% say yes, 30% say no. Now, I'm just going to pretty much read verbatim what I left on Burgundy Blue's YouTube video in the comment section because it pretty much encapsulates my thoughts straightforward. So here we go. I don't know if handing out money is the best answer. Best believe I'm sure Will and Janet had chats behind the scenes about that sort of thing. How do you place a, money amount? Maybe that wasn't the right wording there, but yeah, I said, how do you place an amount on a destroyed career? Also, is it fair to say it was 100% Will's fault? She even said she didn't tell anyone on the cast and crew about what was going on in her personal life because at that point she had no idea who she could trust. At that point, I believe it was stated like, she was saying, well, hey, you don't laugh at Will's jokes and you're, acting, like you're not even enjoying being here. So pretty much they had me locked away in my, dressing room and couldn't come out unless it was to do a scene and whatnot. Now, I don't think Will knew about that, but that's just my opinion. So at that point, I even went on to say she'd come to set, do her scenes, and walk off without talking to anyone. Her behavior reflected what most would probably deem a difficult actress. Not to mention she walked away from the contract for the next season or seasons. Yes, it was most likely an insulting amount for an actress of her talent and her time on the show already. If nothing else, it seems whatever lowball offer it was equated to a slap in the face to let her know her place. And, she did say that verbatim. And then I said, Will said he didn't know what the deal was, and I truly believe he didn't know. All I'm saying is Janet made some choices that probably made life a little harder for her just as much as Will saying she was difficult. Putting Will Smith on blast for years probably wouldn't have opened any doors for her on a lot of other big name productions considering how big Will became over the years. My hope is that their healing in public can open doors for her career again in a similar way to how Jeffrey Owens had more opportunities come his way after that random woman took a picture and posted it online, resulting in some trying to shame him for working at Trader Joe's. However, that narrative was quickly flipped in a heartbeat, and here Tyler Perry created a role specifically for him on the haves and the have-nots. Remember Senator Connolly? Now, in my humble opinion, the apology between Will and Janet and the squashing of their beef is what needed to be seen by the public more than anything else. And I really do stand by what I said here next. Shoot, I think it's safe that if you were going through a beef with someone in your life in a much shorter time span than 27 years, you probably felt tempted to hit them up in order to make amends. Overall, I don't think she's owed anything financially from Will. I don't think it is 100% his fault, but they both acknowledge their roles and how things played out. I wouldn't be surprised if Will hooks her up with a few roles in some of his own future projects, or at the very least, taps the shoulder of some of the producer and directors that he knows in order to give her more opportunities. So, Burgundy Blue jumped in and said, these are great points. This is why I love the discussion part. I am also sure he didn't know about the negotiations. It was so many other people that made the final decisions, not Will. Exactly. Speaking on oh yeah, she wanted to talk more about the Tyler and Monique thing. Side note, I think I mentioned this in another video, but I might do a video kind of going over the Tyler Perry Monique beef and why that beef even started and why I kind of don't feel like Tyler owes her an apology, but that'll be its own video. It'll probably be something I do towards the end of this week because, like I said, I recorded 22 videos earlier today. And I posted 12 not too long ago. They were all the have and have not videos I need to do. So I got 10 videos that are already recorded. They're just on the back burner right now, but they will be up within the next 48 hours because they're all, what are they? House of Pain, Bruh, and Sister videos that need to go up. But for this particular video, I remember watching the reunion the first time because I watched it twice. And it was a pretty emotional scene between Janet and Will, and I was just sitting there like I do feel for her because remember, this was the first time we got both sides of the story, because up until that point it was just Janet blasting Will and the other cast members over the years, and that's really all we heard. Well, for a lack of a better phrase, an angry black woman, bitter. We didn't really know why she was acting the way she was. But now that we know both sides of the story, it's easier to put things together. However, I just don't think it's fair to say that, Will, you ruined my life. Will, you ruined my career. You did this, you did that. But at the same time, I will say that I was reading a lot of tweets and comments on this, and, people were saying like, that's the thing. Like, when you have the power to change somebody's life, especially when they were falsely labeled as something that they're not, then it's kind of like a responsibility to step up and, change the narrative if it's applicable. Like, Will, if, he knew she wasn't difficult, he should have spoke up earlier. Now, that much I kind of do agree on. But, based on certain things that were out of Will's control, remember, he was just a 21-year-old, star rapper, hit show, hit music, working on movies. And, when you have like that one, I guess you could say, grouch amongst the cast members, or that one person who isn't laughing at your jokes or doesn't really fit the mold of, someone who enjoys your presence or your antics, you're going to want to, nip it in the bud. So, yeah, I mean, he probably wasn't too fond of Janet's behavior. But I think, like I mentioned in the comment, it's really the fact that I'm not saying that Janet needs to tell everyone and their mother what was going on at home, but you would think that's something you would bring up to like the producers or whatnot, just to say, hey, this is what's happening, and this is why I'm not, or at least pull Will to the side. When she was still on the show, if she felt like Will was the one who was relegating her to being stuck in her room and whatnot, then maybe it will be an idea that's like, hey, Will, you're funny and everything, but can we just keep it a little bit more professional on set? Plus, I'm a pregnant woman, so all that loud blasting music, because they always said how Will would always have 20 guys from Philly with him blasting music, having a good time. But it's like, you want to kind of be more understanding to, your elder and someone who's pregnant. You want to be a little more kind towards them and their needs, not just yours. But the fact that I felt like she kind of internalized her own personal struggles, that kind of spilled over into how she interacted with the cast. So that could definitely give off the atmosphere that she really doesn't care for the other cast members. She's just there to be there. She's just there to do her scenes, go back to her room. So I'm not even fully putting this on Janet, but I don't think it's fair to say that it's 100% Will's fault. I just feel like both parties involved could have done things a little more differently. Like, for example, like I said, Will being a bit more understanding to, a pregnant cast member. Maybe you want to cater to her needs, or at least, check in and make sure, hey, is there anything we could do to make you more comfortable considering, you're pregnant. But it did feel a bit odd. I mean, I could see why she would be labeled as difficult if she was acting, how she said she was acting, which was pretty, all business, no fun. When you're working with a cast, it's like a big happy family, and you're that one relative nobody wants to deal with. So That's my guess based off what both parties said. So in terms of finances, I really don't think that that's a Will call when it comes down to the whole decision making about how much Janet was offered and whatnot. I don't think that's something Will had control over. I honestly don't think that's what it boiled down to. Like, I mean, with Will Smith's success, I mean, if he probably went into the office to give everyone raises, or suggest that the cast get an upgraded pay, that's one thing. But you know, considering Janet and Will really weren't on good speaking terms, I doubt that, you know, Janet would say, you know, what's up with this crap deal. So I don't think Will was as responsible as Janet's making it out to me. And I'm not trying to deny her struggle, don't get me wrong, but when you hold a bitterness and resentment against someone for almost 3 decades, that's obviously going to affect you in more ways than one. And yeah, Will did do damage when he said difficult to work with, so that most likely made it even harder for her to find work outside the Fresh Prince. But also, just because Will said that, don't forget that the fact you walked out on the contract, so who's to say those producers and whatnot that you walked away from, you know, with the contract for the upcoming season, who's to say they didn't, you know, I guess you could say stir the pot behind the scenes? Because Will Smith, I'm not saying Will's words didn't have power, but, you know, Will Smith isn't the one signing the checks. Will Smith wasn't the one owning a production company at that point in time. So I feel like, you know, when it comes down to it, Janet not really being open and honest to those who held the power above Will Smith is probably another reason why things became more difficult for her. So I don't really care about the money thing. That's just my opinion. I mean, obviously, because I'm not involved in it, I have no stake in this in regards to if Will gives her money or not. I just think that the most important thing was, well, for the fan base, understanding what happened, because again, it's almost been 30 years, and the fact that in the midst of 2020, seeing something like this was definitely a miracle. But in terms of if Will compensates Janet or not, I don't really think that's anything we need to know about. Handle that behind closed doors. Now, it would be cool to see them on screen together, like in a project or something, because that would be awesome. But in regards to like if Will gives her financial compensation, I'm not going to say whether or not she deserves it, because that's not my place. All I got to say is I don't think it's Will's fault 100%. And I do think with Will being as well mature as he is now compared to age 21, I think Will Smith is going to do what's fair. He's going to do what's right, and him and Janet will probably work things out behind the scenes. That's honestly how I want it, you know. But that's just me, you know, because I don't think it's anybody's place to say, unless you're Will or Janet, I don't think it's anybody's right to say, hey, well, she deserves this and Will needs to give that. Well, it's not our money to give away. And you know, Will and Janet probably had, I mean, I remember watching the Red Table Talk with Will, and I think towards the end of it, he looked at the camera like, hey, Janet, I'm going to message you after this. So I just feel like, you know, those two are definitely on better terms. And I feel like Will's going to do right by her and they'll figure something out. So that's really all I have to say. You can let me know your thoughts. Do you think I'm completely off the mark saying, you know, Jeremy, I don't think so. I feel like Will's responsible and this and that. I mean, like I said before, if there's anything that Will should have done, it squashed the narrative, you know, about her being difficult if he, you know, truly knew. Because once again, I'm really basing this off what both parties said during the reunion as well as during the Red Table Talk, because even though the Red Table was just Will and the psychiatrist, there were extended cuts from the interviews that Janet and Will did, you know, with talking to the camera and talking with each other. So remember, don't just watch the reunion. You got to go to Facebook and watch the Red Table Talk to get the full story about what's going on. And like I said before, there are probably other things that happened, other conversation that were had that didn't take place in front of the camera. And not to, you know, jump on the Monique thing, but kind of like with the Monique and Netflix and Monique and Tyler, you know, not everything has to be done out in the public. You know, like the whole Netflix thing, that, I mean, that's some stuff you want to talk about behind closed doors, because when you're bad mouthing Netflix in public like that and then, you know, suing them, and apparently she won the case a couple months ago. I was completely unaware of that. You know, I wouldn't want to, you know, mess around with you. Like, let's say if I was a person that worked at Hulu or Amazon, seeing what Monique did to Netflix, I sure as heck wouldn't want to, you know, extend my hand or even accept any kind of negotiation with her for a special, but like, nope, I'll just move on to the next one. So I'm not trying to get sued just because she thinks I lowballed her. So I just feel like Janet did play a role in her career being as strenuous to work through as Will. And like I said, I really think it comes down to communication's key. You know, I just feel like if these kind of conversations would have happened, like let's say if Janet approached Will and was like, hey, you know, could you just be a little more understanding of, you know, me, because, you know, I'm pregnant and whatnot, going through a lot, and Will was a complete asshole. Oh yeah, that's different. That's like, okay, Will, that's just ridiculous. But the fact that, you know, she was going through a lot at home, and that kind of impacted her interaction with her, basically her personal family life, and the negativity surrounding that brought a negative vibe to her work family, so to speak, or her TV family. So sadly, that's how it turned out. But once again, I think the most beautiful part is the fact that they were able to come together to make things right in regards to squashing the beef and beginning the healing process. And whatever happens from there, it happens. Let's just let it be. They'll work it out. So that's all I have to say about the subject. Let me know what you think. Do you think Will should just give her like $5 million or something like that? I don't know. Like I said, I don't really care about the money. I mean, Janet probably, I'm not saying Janet's a gold digger. I'm just feeling like, you know, money is, you know, something that helps people survive, but I just don't think it's fair to put it all on Will. And I really do feel like they'll work something out behind the scenes. So leave, you know, your thoughts below. And speaking of money, if you would like to donate to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal or Cash App, or feel free to join Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon.